Let's give 1 minute for people to join us.
Hmm.
But why I don't see the other status?
Oh, you don't see mine?
I see yours, but not the one on the Startless TV. On the Startless TV, it's that swipe status.
Sorry, what will be?
No, it's not important. It's like, yeah, you can make an emoji behind your name, in the voice chat now.
Oh, this is cool.
Because
uh, all right, I think we can get started now. I'm sure more people will join, but I want to be mindful of everyone's time. VB is worried about football, and I also have some things to attend to. Um, Not a spoiler, but something cool is happening during Michael's presentation on Crossroads. So I hope everyone can watch it. We'll try to find the ways to be with you guys watching together the presentation. Lots of work to do. So let's get started right away with the second meeting of the Lord Keepers meeting. And if you don't know what the Lord Keepers meeting is about, this is a place uh, where we are able to discuss the events of the lore of Star Atlas in a, let's say, free environment. It's open mics. Everyone is able to ask questions, share opinions, and most of all, discuss the lore of Star Atlas. And today, we are going to start moving to the second species of the Oni consortium, the Miris. And to be honest, for me, the Miris are one of the coolest concepts that I ever created or worked on. I feel like the dynamics between Miris and Sogmians shows two of the most, let's say, interesting philosophical currents that I have studied throughout my life. So, yeah, I really want to dive deep here. I'll also be sharing with you guys some lore alphas, if we can say it like that, because I have been working on the details of the Mieri's homeworld system, so we'll be able to talk a little bit about that as well. And overall, I want you guys to leave this meeting today knowing a little bit more about the what is a Mieri's, what the Mieri's purpose in life usually are, what you can expect of this species from their traits, their conscience, their beliefs, their value systems. And pretty much like we did with the Sogmians, I'll try to go through a few topics here. Some of them are already linked in our event description. Let me share them here so we don't lose track of them. And so we can explore those topics. I make sure to not lose myself while exploring and talking because I do that very often. So I need something to base myself on. And all right, I think we can get started. I already see some questions. Did we ever see a female Miris? Are there female Miris? Yes. And Johnny, that you just asked, she's a half Miris. So yeah, we have female Miris. Johnny is a half. I'll let you wonder on that second one. But yeah, they have females. Um, and I think like this conversation should start on the broader level of what it means to be a Miris in the universe of Star Atlas. Miris, my basis for the formulation or the creation of the Miris came from maybe we could say an opposite philosophical view of the world, uh, that of the Sogmians. If you guys remember our last conversation about Miris, uh, the, about the Sogmians are beings that are mostly focused on their values. Their whole existence revolves around what ought to be done by their moral rules, by their system of beliefs, and they don't believe in an afterlife. They feel like this is their only existence and they must abide and live through this code of conduct to give meaning to their lives. And when you live in such a closed and strong world, you create things that are very extreme from either side. So in the world of Star Atlas, we have from the most epic heroes, like for example Bekalu, which has a very interesting story. One day I hope to share that story with you guys. And we have guys, for example, like Vega, which is one of the worst villains in the Staratas galaxy, as I shared in the last meeting. The guy used it to. He didn't believe in rights for people who weren't Sogmians. So there would be cannibalism, slavery, all sorts of things with members of other species that didn't qualify as Sogmians. They weren't perceived as people. These characters, this logic derives themselves from their system of beliefs. And the same thing happens with the Miris. The Miris system of beliefs is focused on a philosophical line of thought called phenomenology, which is the current of thought that explores the relationship between conscience and objects. Every analysis of a reality from the Miris point of view comes from their subjective experience with the world around them. Their personal beliefs, their personal experience, their subjectivity, their uh, the way that they perceive reality is the focus of things. In the Miris, the Sogmians had a prioristic rules that they used to judge reality and guide themselves through it. The Miris kind of inverts this logic. They first experience things and then they draw conclusions after fact. Uh, Sogmians have this whole black and white vision of reality. They strive to be in the right side of things. They are very passionate and care a lot about being right or being a force of good. While Miris, not saying that they are outright evil, but they believe that evil exists. This is a fact of reality, and nothing that a Miris do or do not will change this fact. And they deal with reality as it is, not as reality ought to be by some sort of belief, religion, whatever you feel like should drive your life forward. And in this way, Sogmians see Miris as cowards, as free spirits, and things like that. And Miris sees Sogmians as, that kind of person that you don't want to be together in a party. And that's really interesting because most of this version, uh, was very prevalent and very, let's say, influential on how the Convergence War happened. In the future, you guys will see this how these stories converged and how the Oni consortium was formed. And the reason it took so long, the Oni consortium is the last faction to be formed in Star Atlas, was because both groups or all the Oni species had to converge to a point where things were so dreadful, so bad, that they had no option but get together to fight out against the galaxy around them. So yeah, this is a very brief introduction showing how the different logics of each civilization works. And now we can start going drink some water. Thank you, Bibi. Any questions or any comments about this first part before I go into actual Miri's story and lore? I'll take that as a no, so we can get started on the Miri's philosophy, history, and overall traits. Again, differently from the Sogmians, Miris are spiritual beings, in the sense that Miri's whole civilization was created under a founding myth. This founding myth, I shared this like on the early days when I joined Automata, tells the story of how the Miris god was trapped in a cage due to his pride. He was the most brilliant god, the most intelligent one, and he would take challenges from everyone and anyone that came after him. He was so charismatic, so good at everything that he thought that no one would plot or try to, overpower him. He didn't feel like this was possible. And then, even though he was the strongest of all gods, one other god called Jericho managed to challenge him and imprisoned him in a cage, throwing the key to his prison outside. And all Oneto, which is the name of the god of the Miris, had to do was admit defeat before all the other gods, and he would be released from his prison. But Oneto didn't decided that he would win, even though there was no way of him getting out to get the key out of his prison. And by that reason, he created the Miris, his children, to explore Galley Expanse and find whatever the key was hidden inside this world. So the Miris, by conception, they were created under this story. They were created under this framework where they must find the secret of where his god's prison lies in Gallia Expanse. And their god made a deal with them in their afterlife. He said that every Miris had the duty to find secrets and hints and tips on where he could find the key out to free himself from the prison. And every Miris, when they died, they would come to him and share all the stories, secrets, and information they acquired through their lives to the god. If they managed to impress the god with something new, they would go instantaneously to the paradise that Oneiro had created for them. But if not, he would be locked with him, trying to make sense of the puzzle that incarcerated him in the first place. So, this founding myth is very important for the Miris culture by very different reasons. The first of all is that the heart of the Miris civilization is the idea of acquiring secrets and tales about Gallia Expanse overall. Mieris are by nature people who just brave new worlds, pioneers in high risk zones, and things like that. Because their life, the meaning of their existence to most of the members of their species is to acquire knowledge about the world. But not only acquire knowledge about the world, they must systematically construct this in a way where their civilization can share this knowledge and also that they can present this knowledge to their god in the afterlife. And when you die, you don't have your notes with you, you don't have hardware, you don't have anything but yourself, your ability to communicate, and your memories. Hence why the Mirrorese doesn't have a written language, a written story. All the Mirrorese must memorize all the relevant facts of their civilization in their heads. And some say that's the reason why they have those long tails on their heads. That's because that's where they store all the information about life, existence, and the secrets that they gather through life. And this creates a culture. Yeah, they. This is an interesting thing that Sharik is asking. How they send message to each other? Voicemails only? Yes, most of the Miris will talk with each other or send when they need to send quick messages. This would be through voice channels, and that's because the Miris believe that words, written words, are a very poor mechanism to express the real content of experience. Remember what I said that uh, what's important for the Mirrorese is the experience, is living through events and making significance of those events after experiencing them. So Mirrorese feel like the written world is a very poor vessel to communicate those expressions. People can draw different conclusions, people can't feel your emotions. So Mirrorese, they really focus on building up the skills to share stories and to make you feel the experience of being there, living with them through their experiences. So yeah, the Miris are the best bards, we can say it like that, in the Stratos universe. If you are sitting down with a true Miris, he'll start sharing his tales, his adventures, and you'll feel like you were there with him. You see this in his tone of voice, how his body moves, and overall, you can feel the power of stories through them. And in their philosophy, building up on this philosophy, Miris believes that the true world, the world where their God lives and where their paradise is the world of stories, of ideas. And this world where we live is like a reflection of the stories, of the moral themes that happens in the true idea world. So for me, it is all the plots, all the tropes of histories like good wins against evil at the end of the day, and whatever local, whatever commonplace ideas about stories and everything, they are laws of reality as strong as gravity. So Miris believe in their stories as if, and the tropes that the stories tells, as they were physical laws. In the end, if you are evil, you are going to get screwed by the will of the universe. Things like that, concepts and ideas that the laws that happens in the true world of ideas, the world of stories, happens in the real world. We are the fake world. God Expanse is the fake world. The true world, when they are reunited with their gods, is the true world that they access when they die. Well, this is pretty much the Miari's origin stories, and I'll drink some water, and I would love to. Man, Chadix, you are a very intelligent man, sir. I'll just say that. And I'll ask if anyone have any questions about this founding myth or the overall ideas that move the Miaris as a civilization. All right, I think everyone is sleeping by now, or just want to hear me going on. So that's what I'm going to do. And next, I think I can talk a little bit about the origins of the Miaris as a species. And I can't talk about the origins of the Miaris as a species without going to their homeworld sector, which is called Neonu. Neonu is a very special place in Galia Expanse. And I say that Neonu is a very special place in Galia Expanse because this is the only place outside of the high risk zone where there exists a living planet. Yes, the Miris live in a planet which is a living being. Different theories try to track the origins of Neonu, if it is an entity that came from the high risk zone and is currently just sleeping, drifting in this sector of Gaia, or if it was a meteor with some unknown species from the cataclysm that simply crashed in the planet and gave it life. The fact is that everyone in Gaia Expanse wonders about the Miris homeworld. This planet, for the Miris, is believed to be a prison for their god. The Miris, at least the religious ones, they believe that Neonu is actually a prison where their god is hidden somewhere. And what the Miris must do is find clues to allow them to find, first of all, the prison, and second, the key to open the door where Oneto is hidden. So, in the Miris culture, the what the Miris do is that they train when they are young, and as soon as they, let's say, graduate from their basic training, they must leave and go explore Galia Expanse to help them find those keys. And one thing that I actually forgot, this is a small piece of alpha that I'm going to share here, and that's important because it makes reference with the different regions of Neonu, is that Miares, they have three different names. And the first name of a Miares is a secret. This name is given by them by the lore keepers of the region where their family lives, and this name by no means must leave the Miares and their family. And the reason why is because this name is the true name of the Miares that he'll need to share with Oneto when they go and have their conversation in the afterlife. If someone knew the Miares' true name, this name could be, first of all, used in the afterlife to bypass or try to fool Oneto. But also the Miares feel like this true name is linked with the world of ideas, of stories in the afterlife. So those names have powers. And evil Miares believe in using those secrets and rituals, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit to make evil or try to gain advantages against other members of the Miris people and other species. So, under no circumstances, a Miris will share their secret name with anyone else. Otherwise, they are strictly family and loved family. To add on that, the second name is the public name of that Miris. It's a name that mostly a short but strong name. That's the name that's going to live in the stories of the Miris civilization. And here I'll open a parenthesis to explain how the Miris civilization works in terms of organizing information and social structure. Miris usually live in very small settlements, and those settlements they are like um, I don't know the proper word in English, but something like they must be something that you can pack really real quick and move around real fast because the environment in Neono is always changing. Yes, they are a nomad civilization, but the thing that I wanted to talk about to emphasize here is that Miris are always ready to move. They are always ready to react to the environment because Neono is actively trying to get rid of those guys that are living in their bodies. The Miris believe in his body. The Miris believe this is a way of training them to find the secrets of Onatos, but the biologist of the Council of Peace says that Neono perceives the Miris as virus and bacteria in his body. We don't know who is right or wrong, but the fact is that the whole planet is usually trying to kill its citizens. So the Miris, from a very young age, they learn that they only need to carry what they can take in a bag and run forward. You never see a Miris sitting too long in a single place. And the way that they keep the communication, the way that they keep an organized society overall, is that they have lore keepers as their regional leaders and overall making connections throughout their civilizations. You guys can think about the Miris lore keepers as nodes of a blockchain. Every lore keeper will keep track of the people living under his jurisdictions, let's say it like that. He'll write his stories on his city or settlement tale, and he'll share these stories with higher level lore keepers who takes care of bigger and wider areas, up to the council of the lore keepers, who are the most veteran, the oldest lore keepers of the Miris, who collectively uh, keep the information about the Miris history from the moment of Onatos creation until the day where the Miris will be reunited with their god and he'll leave his cage. This story, this great story of the whole Miris civilization, is called the Grand Tale. And this is like the biggest honor that a Miris can have in his life is to be written as one relevant character in the Grand Tale. So the Miris who are looking after fame, who are looking to be meaningful in this existence, the biggest prize, the biggest honor that they can have is to be written by the lore keepers, not written to be registered in the stories of his civilization as one of the characters in the Miris Grand Tale. And only people who perform uh, monumental tasks of value or infamy are written in the Grand Tale. And in this system, the the different lore keepers get together on a timely basis. Let's say like every 3 months, they reunite in different places of Neono, and they share the stories that they acquired during this period. So this way, the knowledge about their species and the relevant facts of their civilization are never lost for the Meres species. So this was just a small parenthesis while I explained the public name of the Mereses and the importance of the lore keepers. Those are the guys that keep the whole civilization together. Meres doesn't like, due to their pioneer and adventurous natures, Meres doesn't like the idea of a strong government and overall guidance by political leaderships and things like that. It's very rare that a Meres is actually interested in these sorts of things, and that's one of the reasons that Vaor Skarka, the current head of the Council of Peace, is such an anomaly in his civilization. Uh, the other Miris don't get why Vaor is occupied with bureaucracy and things like that, and they are outright distrustful of his behavior sometimes. It's not well looked among Miris, the desire to control and the desire to govern overall. But of course, there are always those outliners in any society, any species, who will do things that are counterintuitive to any culture, and that's the case of Vars Karka. And talking about him, we'll talk about the third name of the Miarizes, which makes a reference to the region where they come from in Neonu. Uh, the Miariz, the third name of the Miariz makes a reference to the family. And the Miariz considers you family, direct family at least, if you come from the same region as them in Neono. So I'll share here this small little this small piece of alpha. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here you guys will see the 6 different regions that exists in Neono that gives birth to the third name of the Miris. Every Miris in the lore, in the game, they should have a third name coming from those regions. If this doesn't happen, if a Miris doesn't have a third name, it means that he has no family or his family is unknown. This is somewhat weird for Miris culture because they try to keep those relationships real closely. The lore keepers try to keep track of everything. So if you are Miris and you don't have a third name, you'll surely be seen with suspicion by any other Miris that you encounter in game. One sad thing that I need to share is that when we have the crew names, we don't have zero knowledge technology yet. So unfortunately, the first name of your Miris will be available for the people to see. You'll have the 3 names on your crew cards when you see the Miris. So yeah, for now there's not much we can do here, but hopefully in the future we can find a way to hide this first name. Yeah, exactly, Brad. Exactly. And this way I want this to be something in the lore. But yeah, these are the rules. Miris have a written name, a public name, and a name that comes from the region where his family comes from in planet Neono. I have some small descriptions of each one of those regions, so I'll share those in a bit with you guys. Just give me a second. While I copy and paste those things, any of you guys have any questions about lore keepers, Miri's names, and things like that? Or life in general as well? All those regions. Thank you, Shadix. I actually forgot to say something important. Neuno sector takes its name from the planet Neuno. And the name of the planet is the name of the sector. And yes, all those regions that creates the names are regions inside planet Neuno. Uh, they are different regions of the map, and hopefully one day, no, for sure, one day, you guys will be able to explore those places. I imagine in the future that you'll be creating your Miris character, and there will be a quest where you go through the different regions, learning how to hunt, how to be a Miris, to learn about the story, to learn about the costumes, to learn about the whole civilization of the Miris. And as you go through all of them, you'll be reuniting pieces that will grow to allow you to be a seasoned hunter and leave planet Neono to go explore Galia Expanse in the future. This is the way that I envision how this is going to play out in the future. Hopefully, we can do something like that. It would be super cool. But aside from Neonu, the sector, the Neonu sector, has other planets. Actually, it has one, two, three different planets and two twin moons. Uh, and I'll go very briefly through all of them. The first planet was named after the Miris god. Here, I will share a little bit. Not much because I want you guys to see, to discover for yourself other things in the future, but here is a description of Mironato, one of the planets of the system. Here is Jericho's End, which is in the second planet of this sector. We also have a space station, and we have the Oni faction CSS in this planet as well. So it's a very important place for the Oni civilization as a whole, because the CSS is parked there. It's the seat of power for the whole Oni species. And yeah, I really like this, how this sectoring special is shaping out. I feel that in the future, players would love to be there watching the whole system from the CSS and things like that. Shadix asked, how are mixed races beings like Johnny seen in the Miris culture? That's a really good question. The Miris doesn't have problem with half-breds. The other species uh, that makes up Johnny would have more problems with that than the Miris. The Miris are overall uh, very, very open to new cultures. They are very. It's not Sagmia. It's not. They are very easygoing. They are good to talk. They like stories. They like to engage with other people. So yeah, you never see a Miris being racist or anything like that. Uh, this is a behavior that you would expect from a mud, for example, especially in some regions, especially the muds that comes from Nova Aeternum or something like this. Uh, and I also, talking about Johnny, talking about the I don't think we ever disclosed this, Brad. Yeah. And I don't know if I can disclose this or not, but well, I'm going to share a story that that was never shared before. And this is the story of Johnny's father, Var Skarka. One thing that the only consortium after the Convergence War, they were very united. I'll say something here, Brad. This is important. Nothing that we talk about in the lore meetings goes outside of lore meetings because I risk getting fired because I lose track of what I can talk about and what I cannot. So yeah, snitches get stitches. We always keep the alpha that we talk about in the lore here. So please don't go talking or sharing or asking foundation room questions about those topics that we talk about here. So, yep. With that being said, the Oni consortium was really tight, was a really very united front after the end of the Convergence War. Under the ruleship of Bekalu, the Oni consortium was the strongest faction in Star Atlas, by far, after the end of the Convergence War. But with the appearance, with the creation of the Council of Peace, the Oni consortium uh, gave some of its power, as all other factions did, to the Council of Peace, and it gave back most of the autonomy that every species had before the war back to their leaders and personal rulers. And nevertheless, it's still a formidable faction. We would say that the three factions are more or less tied in power, even in the lore. But due to the fact that the Council of Peace is under only rulership for now, especially Valor's Karka rulership, we could say that the Oni has a slight advantage due to this fact. It's not a military advantage, let's say it like that, but more of a political advantage. And but Valor, as much as Valor is a good leader, Valor has some, let's, how can I put it without giving away too much for you guys to think about. Valor has a fundamental flaw that's quite problematic under the Oni consortium. And this fundamental flaw that's one of them, but that's not the one I was going to talk about, Mustache. This fundamental flaw is that Valor really strongly hate the Photoli. Valor is 100% enemy, in a personal level, enemy of the Photolis. This is not a known fact throughout Gallia expanse. This is a very closed secret that only upper staff on the Council of Peace And when I say upper staff, I say people like the faction leaders of the Mud, Ulster, and like their first and second in command knows. But something in the past happened between Vaor's family and the Fotoli. And this is something that I'll explore more when we talk about Fotoli lore. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But the Fotolis, you guys know they have the ascended Fotolis, the Fotolis that like are that plays a huge place in the lore, that are relevant to the great scheme of things. They are very strong beings. And they have powers. Uh Jesus mustache. They have powers and they meddle with things that you could say that are akin to alchemy. If we were to understand the Fotoli existence from our one uh, human concept point of view, the Fotolis have powers that allows them to mess with the nature of things, especially the nature of light. And if you remember Core, the Core magazine, you remember that there was a cult of Photolis, like the Order of Light, and they worship the Photolis. They share, uh, they praise the power of light and things like that. And one of the members of our family was somewhat involved with this. And here I am, like sharing gossip from the halls of the Council of Peace, guys, so don't go telling this anyone. But things went wrong. Things went wrong real bad. And Vaor has a beef to pick with the Fotolis. And Vaor dedicated his life from the moment that this event happened to finding ways to control Fotolis and to fight against them. So this division has caused some problems in the Oni consortium in the later years, but this is not public knowledge. Jesus mustache. This is just a small piece of trivia that I want you guys to be aware about because someday in the future, this might, the different events that happen in Galia Expanse might trigger your comprehension that, oh, so that's what's happening here in the background. With that said, I don't want to get in danger more than I already have due to this conversation. Ah, maybe mustache. Maybe there is a relationship. Maybe there's a relationship. Uh, I want to open up a little bit for questions overall. I feel that you guys were awfully silent today. The Sogamians lore keepers meeting, people were asking lots of questions and and participating more directly. Does anyone has any questions about Miris or even about Sogamians so far, so that I can address them, or even curiosities, things that you'd like to know about Ionis overall? You, of course, friend, no, your comments are fun. You actually touched interesting things there. The Pi have trouble operating Noni? No, no. As I said, uh, this is this relationship, this problem of the past. is something that's not public knowledge. And something like not allowing a Titan to access any of the Oni territories would be super weird. Uh, so yeah, I mean, denying access would be weird, but you can be sure that all the Titans are under surveillance from the Council of Peace at every moment, in the lore of Star Atlas, of course. They are, Photoli are formerly part of the Oni faction. Even though, when we talk about Photoli, and maybe we can do this on the next meeting, let me know in the chat if you guys want to talk about Photoli, or we can go for any other species or any other lore topics that you guys want to explore. But when we talk about Photoli, I'll explain to you guys how Photolis perceive galactic politics. Like, so formally, yes, they are Photoli, they are Oni, but it's not that they care too much. It's not that they are super involved with what's going on. Aside from very few topics that are from their direct focus, and yeah, they are personally invested in. So you usually you don't want to see many Photoli going out of their way to go after political bureaucracy and whatever. Does educational background is important with the Miris? That's an excellent question. Miris overall, they don't, it's not that they don't care about education overall, but for them, knowledge, all types of knowledge, they are tools for them to live in Galia Expanse. They are not an end on itself. So, for example, you won't see many Miris scientists as a career choice for your everyday Miris. Uh, Miris, and this was actually a very good question because it reminded me of something that I forgot to say. Miris, they believe, as I said, in the power of subjectivity. And this translates in passing down or prioritizing or seeing what kind of knowledge is important for them. So Miarizes will have lots of knowledge for hands-on situation. Like for example, Miarizes will mostly, or seasoned Miaris will know, for example, what herbs can be used to heal someone. And if you have a Miaris who is a mystic, who is someone that tries to communicate with God, a lore keeper, etc., he'll have his own set of rituals that he has or he created to attune himself with the world of histories and their gods and religions. And this allows us to draw a very interesting parallel from Sogmian and Miaris societies. In Sogmians, as we spoke last time, they are a society of rituals because rituals give meaning to they create objectively meaningful situations. Like for example, award ceremony. It creates all that bureaucracy, all those rituals to make the people involved feel special. The Sogmians have this as a value in their society. Their rituals is an end in itself. When we are thinking about Miris, the rituals, first of all, they are subjective. So every Miris will have different rituals or patterns. Like for example, some Miris will only get water whenever they want to do a ritual for their gods. They only get water that falls from the sky. not from rivers or mechanical uh, uh, or other sources of waters. Things like that that helps them empower their psyche to attune themselves with their gods and somewhat influence them to help them. Of course, members of other species don't believe in that, but Miris actually believe in the practicing and doing those things to empower their let's say relationship with the spirits, with the environment, and with the overall energy of the universe, if we could call it like that. So for Miris, rituals serve to an end, which is their own personal energy, their own personal experience, while for Sogmians, rituals have an objective meaning, objective reason to exist. So, going back to your question, my friend, formal educational, is not something that Miris perceive as useful. Like it's something that okay, you can do this, but it's not something that you'll be like in human society. If you don't go to the college, people will frown at you looking, oh, so here comes the different guy, etc. No, the Miris will never do that. But the Miris expect you to be resourceful, to know how to deal with situations as they come. Not theoretical knowledge, but on hands knowledge. They are surely going after that. Oh, you asked a really good question here, Shelix. The Miris also had an encounter with an alien race before they became space warfares, right? Was that Photoli as well? As for Mud, no, that's a different species. This is a really good question. Another species came to the Miris. Since they don't have scientific knowledge and anything like that, they weren't able to build ships to go outside of their planets. And one kind, alien species, one day came to them and gave them the technology to do this. It teaches them how to the on hands knowledge on how to assemble ship parts and get out of Neuno. The Miris believe that they were envoys of their gods, but this is a unknown species. A small spoiler for you guys, it's a high risk zone species. We will meet them hopefully in the future. Not sure how friendly they will be by them, but yep, that's it. Let's see mustache question. The same outlook that got Vega in trouble is looking down on other species. I'm assuming it's the same with Photoli. They look at other species as inferiors, correct? Since they technically aren't from Gallus Pens. No, that's not necessarily the case with Photoli Mustache. Um, the Photoli, they have very clear objectives in Gallia Expanse. And while other factions are discussing frontiers and treaties and commerce and atlas and resources, the Photoli are very focused on their agenda. A parenthesis here, the Photoli species is the species where their members are the most different from each other. Like, if we think about millions of humans, millions of other species, the Photolis, as an entire species, they have a very smaller population. And each one of their members surely has a different agenda or different convictions about how to live their lives. I don't want to go too deep on this road because I'll need to explain a lot more about Photoli society if I was going to talk about that, and we are just out of time. But I'll say to you that uh, most of the Photolis, it's not that they have prejudice or see them as inferior, but that they are not directly related with their objectives. I promise to deep dive on this topic on the Photoli lore reunion. Okay? You mentioned that all the lore scripts will write down a document all histories on their areas. No, it's not writing down, friend. It's a the Grand Tale. It's a shared story. It's a compilation of the tales that lives in their heads, in their memories. It's like saying the Odyssey without reading it from the beginning to the end. It's something like this. Of course, there are some representations like a tapestry that some members of the Miris have of their favorite moments of the Grand Tales in their homes. But the Grand Tale, the place where the Miris believe that the Grand Tale lives, is in the world of ideas. It's a shared knowledge, it's a shared story that it's reinforced and reinforced and reinforced throughout the lore keepers to the Miris population to keep the information safe for the destruction. To the point that if there is only one lore keeper left, he would be able to rebuild the whole Miris story as a civilization. Uh, the last information, we are almost out, we are already over time, but I would like to share a last bit of lore alpha here is that in the timeline that I'm writing about all the events of the Staratas lore from the beginning to the end of times, uh, nowadays, after the Convergence War, the Miris as a species had a collective dream. And in this collective dream, they saw uh, a very particular jungle, not a jungle, but how do I say this in English? An environment, a very specific environment that every single one of them appear to have a biome. Exactly, thank you, Sasquatch. Appear to have the same dream, as if someone was guiding them towards this place. And this steered overall like almost a crusade from the myriad species, and they found the place of their visions. This place is one of the sectors that you guys have currently explored in Sage Labs and and in Starbase called Glow Raven. And in one of those planets, the Mir the Miris started exploring that planet, colonizing that world. And it seems that one artifact that's tied with the puzzle of Onato, their god, was found. This artifact is currently being studied by the Council of Peace. There is a whole expedition of the Council of Peace called Young Courage, who is there in that biome right now, studying that artifact. And the lore keepers throughout Galia Expanse are saying that this is a sign that Onato's freedom is coming to the Miris. Alright, this was the last piece of information that I wanted to share with you today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope this was entertaining to some extent and maybe educational for those of you who like Miris. And oh man, I almost lost my voice talking about 1 hour about lorries. It's crazy. Mm. Yeah, you guys want to do Fotoli next? Please let me know in the chat. I see lots of interest about Fotoli. So, yes, I think we can do Fotoli. I'm not sure how far we can go, uh, but we surely can shed some light on the events of and overall nature of Fotolis. Maybe we can do Fotolis and Tufa? Maybe? Who knows? I don't know if there will be enough time. Maybe it's better to do a separate one for each of them. But yeah, next one will be Fotoli. Thank you guys for being here with us. Uh, I really enjoy those meetings. It's good for me to be able to put my thoughts outside of my head. All those concepts and stories that I shared with you, most of them are already written. Uh, and you guys will learn more about them and overall Starata's lore through the crew cards stories. This is one of the ways that I want to advance the lore. And also one day, if God permits, I want to create I want to make my timeline of events interactive with you guys. So you'll be able to explore that and see the thousands of events that exist in the Star Atlas current roadmap. So, yep, I think this is it. Thank you very much for sticking with me today. Crew is actually coming. It's really close. No, it's close. It's close. Looking forward to that. But yeah, thank you guys very much. We'll see each other tomorrow in the brew. Love you all. Thank you.